My soul is resting, just another blessing.
This is a legacy that we started in the city of Haledon, and we hope that it continues. It is in the culture and tradition of Africa that before any important event that we do the libation. So Chief Moody and I will begin that now. The libation ceremony is done in praise and honor of the collective commitment to the work and struggles of our ancestors. It is both constructive, inspirational, and mandatory, mandated within our value system. It is they, our forefathers and foremothers, who through their labor, love, struggle, laid the foundation for us, pushed us in our lives and our history forward, and gave us basic principles to live by. And those principles are strength, dignity, brotherhood, and sisterhood. Pouring libation and making a libation statement is both honorific in its assertion and it's a call to action to carry on the struggle and the work that our ancestors began. It is a unique statement defined by the recognition and respect of the contribution of those that came before us, of our history, and the models it offers us to emulate. The next phase of the libation is Chief Tongora will be giving praises to the ancestors and using water, which is the symbol of life, and it will be poured in the four directions of the earth and the wind.
Good afternoon. This evening, we're going to pour libations 7 times. I'd like for you to join us, and I would ask you to please stand. Please join us. Every time we pour, we want you to say, Harambe. Harambe is a Swahili term meaning let's all pull together. Right? And we're going to say that 7 times. Thank you. Our fathers and mothers came here, lived, loved, struggled, and built here. At this place, their love and labor rose like the sun and gave strength and meaning to the day. For them then, who gave so much, we give in return. On this same soil, we will sow our seeds and build and move in unity and strength. Here too, we will continue their struggle for liberation and a higher level of human life. May our eyes be the eagle, our strength be the elephant, and the boldness of our life be like the lion. And may we remember and honor our ancestors and the legacy they left for as long as the sun shines and the water flows. For our people everywhere then. For Shaka, Samari, Nzinga, and all the others, known and unknown, who defended our ancestral land, history, and humanity from alien invaders. For Garvey, Muhammad, Malcolm and King, Harriet, Fannie Lou, Sojourner, Bethune, Nat Turner, and all the others who dared to define, defend, and develop our interests as a people. For our children and the fuller and freer lives they will live because we struggle. For Kawaida and Nguza Saba, the new system of views and values which gives identity, purpose, and directions to our lives. For the new world we struggle to build. And for the continuing struggle through which we will inevitably rescue and reconstruct our history and humanity in our own image and according to our own need. I'm just going to say quick 7. Usually we do 7 Harambes. 7 is a spiritual number. 7 represents and includes the Saba, the 7 principles. So if it's okay with you, I would do it in maybe 5. And this is tradition. Usually the Harambes are done hand up, fingers apart, and on Harambe, pull down 7 times. And pulling the fist, the hand down into a fist represents coming together. We're apart, coming together. Apart, coming together. So on 3, Ja, Lay, 2.
Harambe! 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 Harambe!
Thank you.
At this time, we'd like to ask the councilman to come forward. Mayor, please, and council members who are here, if you will join us. We have a joint legislative resolution that is signed by Senator Poe, myself, Assemblyman Wimberly, and I'd like to read it. And I just think the points are salient, so I need to read it. Whereas the history of New Jersey and the history of our nation are inextricably linked to our country's African-American community, and whereas the members of the Senate and the General Assembly of the state of New Jersey are pleased to celebrate and observe February 2016 as Black History Month in the state and the borough of Haledon. And whereas one of the ironies of the first century of American independence was that the majority of African Americans lived enslaved. African Americans whose kinsmen, like Crispus Attucks, had given their lives in America's struggle to ensure the future of a society built upon the belief that all men were created equal. And whereas when the dichotomy of the American conscience reached its culmination in the Civil War, the freedom sought by abolitionists such as Frederick Douglass was finally won, and courageous travelers of the Underground Railroad, such as the valiant and tenacious Harriet Tubman, needed to journey no farther than themselves to find the freedom they had sought. And whereas the second century of American independence, a true independence where now all citizens were free, saw the African American community continue to strive for parity and equality in the workplace, in politics, and in education. While African Americans such as George Washington Carver, Louis Armstrong, New Jersey native Paul Robeson, Thurgood Marshall, Langston Hughes, W.E.B. Du Bois, Richard Barth, Buford Delaney, Allen R. Freeland, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. contributed to the arts, sciences, and the growth of our nation, writes the history of the opening decades of its third century. It does so in an era of unity and optimism, an era of peace among Americans, and an era of promise, the promise of a future built upon mutual understanding and cooperation. And whereas it is both proper and fitting for this legislature to pause in its deliberations to praise the history of Black people whose most glorious chapters are still being written as generations of African Americans contribute in full measure to the fulfillment of the American promise. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate and the General Assembly of the state of New Jersey that this legislature hereby recognizes the borough of Haledon for its celebration of Black History Month in February and urges all New Jerseyans to participate in its observance. Again, signed with the seal of the New Jersey General Assembly.
I can't thank you enough for coming, spending your time to come out to this event. It was something that I had no idea how to plan. I leaned on Councilman Artist to give me some insight because they did it in Prospect Park last year. And I learned about the NuFamily Foundation, NuFamily Foundation, who did the flag raising ceremony in Patterson. And with all the preparation going on and all the dates going back and forth, and our dignitaries being here, there, and everywhere, they have a tight schedule. We were able to pull something off. And I can't thank you guys enough so much. Please give them a round of applause.
Carrying on that wonderful legacy and heritage, you know, one of those songs is very much gospel, and the other one of those songs shall overcome is about civil rights and giving music to the people who are in the struggle and giving them some hope to carry on. Fannie Lou Hamer was one of the people who made sure that that kind of tradition carried on in our history. And we use our music, our arts, our education, and pardon me, I'm a scholar poet, to carry on, right? To try to overcome. One of the lyrics in the song says, "We are not in chains." I'm paraphrasing. And some people will say, if you're activists, you agree, that the physical chains have been replaced with other kinds of chains. Yes? Yes. So we are working really hard, and part of being unity, right? And collective work and responsibility is about breaking those chains. We have to do that. And sometimes I think in doing so, we make things uncomfortable for people who are not of color, right? Some of that discomfort is good. Yeah, it's very, very good. But the other part of that, we need to keep in mind that we have never been in this struggle alone. We have always had allies from other cultures. And we would not have been able to do some of the things we have done without the great assistance of the people on the Underground Railroad who were not persons of color. It would not have been possible. So we appreciate all of the allies that we've had in our history and also in today, where we recognize which are the new chains that we need to break, and we're going to need all of your help from every other culture to make sure that we understand that Black lives matter, that all lives matter, that we are important in this history and in this country, and that the work is not finished, right? Ashe.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. To our chief, madam, thank you so much. Our historian, our councilman, to family, to the other elected officials, mayor, thank you for allowing us to use this chamber for the purpose of inviting guests to celebrate our history. It is always a privilege for me to stand before you as your Assemblywoman, representing not only the district of the 35th district, but also Haledon as well as Patterson, and all of you here who are from the state of New Jersey. To our Garden State Choral members, beautiful angelic voices, thank you for sharing that with us. We've all been granted with a gift to help fight our struggle, a gift to celebrate our victories, and music is one of those gifts. I've been blessed with the gift of policy. I've been blessed with the gift of advocacy. I've been blessed with the gift of pulling people together to encourage them to work together. So I want to thank those of you who are not African American, who came out tonight to learn more and to celebrate with us this time that we pause. We are Black 365 days a year. But during the month of February, we pause to celebrate our history, our culture, our rich and humble beginnings with the rest of the world. So I take great pride in that. The struggle is not over. Assemblyman Wimberly and I fight it daily. I will tell you the shoulders that I stand on. I am the third African-American woman assembly person for our district in a 218-year body history. Assemblyman, I'm the second. Assemblyman Wimberly is the third African-American male to hold the seat as well. So we're still making first. Sheila Oliver was the first African-American female speaker. I Googled a couple of days ago, African-American political figures, and the top 10 was our first African-American male senator, Senator Cory Booker, on that list. Next to Congressman John Lewis. Next to Jim Clyburn from South Carolina. So while we have come a long way, there's still a ways to go. We have our first African-American president in the White House. I like to count ourselves part of that sweep that came along with him to impact change. Today, we're fighting voter rights, voter identification. Any of those things sound familiar, Ms. Wahida Muhammad? Any of those fights sound familiar? We're fighting for equality in our education system. I pulled out this versus the one I would traditionally wear, because this was my Kane alumni, Kane College, now Kane University stole. EEO, Equal Educational Opportunity. I came from a family, 2 kids in college, wasn't sure how we were going to pay for college. The EOF program, which the state sponsors, funding was cut for 4 years straight. Last year, Assemblyman Wimberly on the budget committee, myself and leadership, this was a priority, that this program get infused with cash so that people who could not afford to attend college would have an opportunity to attend college. We fight these fights daily. So I wanted us to know, not only do we need to recognize our history, because we're fighting some of the same challenges that we faced back in 1965, that you young people here are going to face in the future. And by being in this room, I can tell you there are future leaders in this room. I grew up hanging around meetings and wondering why we were taking so long in these meetings, fighting the fight for quality education, a thorough and efficient education, to be able to purchase a home any place that we wanted to purchase a home, to be able to get a bank loan to start a business. All of those issues are prominent today, and we fight daily to make sure that you have those rights. We also fought to have you become law enforcement officers. See my retired cousin in here, Mr. Sumter, Mr. Sims, I always say Sims and Sumter, we're too close via marriage. But we have to continue to make sure that you all are part of the movement, part of our future. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Assemblyman Wimberly. We do have a proclamation because today is historic because it's the first annual program. So I want to thank Councilman Mike Johnson for putting the time and effort into indeed my brother, and again to your council colleagues who took time to allow you to take the lead on this and took the time to learn. So I will leave you with this. When we say how other cultures can help us educate people about the African American culture or any other culture, talk about it, ask questions, become interested. No questions too hard, as long as we do it with respect and love. Thank you all.
Can't go nowhere now. I just said it is a pleasure to have a colleague that can really, articulate herself and get her point across. And it really is an honor to be here today. I honor the chief every opportunity I can, and the queen. And Mayor, thank you for having the first African American history program here in the city of Haledon, and led by my good friend, Councilman Mike Johnson, who is unbelievable, not just a legislator, but an unbelievable man. And Jimmy Richardson, every time I'm in front of you, it's like a history lesson in the making. So it's like class. I want to sit back and absorb. Now, if I can remember all those numbers at that point, I definitely am so glad we have video cameras. I can go back and say, look, at 18, whatever, but the history that you're talking, and particularly our young folks, need to really absorb and come in. As we know, for our Black History program in the city of Patterson, we had an opportunity to have former Assemblyman Payne come forward. And the Amistad, it really should be something that's there. Because, I know what the brothers teach, and, I commend Mrs. McDaniels, but people, when you understand your heritage and where you come from, you have a different respect for yourself as not just as young folks, but as not so young folks also, on how you carry yourself, be it how you dress or how you act or how you talk. Because you know that you come from kings and queens, you are not going to be walking around acting a fool. People really have died for our right to vote, our right to get a fair and efficient education, and our right to own homes. So when we get a chance to vote, that, we shouldn't have a 21% voter turnout as we had in our last election. Educationally, we should not be talking about truancy. Everybody should be fighting to get to school. And then when we do have an opportunity to have a nice home, we should take care of our properties and our homes. So these are the little things. Now quickly, there are two things that I've talked everywhere and every opportunity I had during Black History Month. One is Emmanuel AME Church in South Carolina. The primaries getting ready to come up. And I thought as the year closed out, and there were so many things going on in history, that, I kept saying, they're going to talk about that because that was a major piece of unfortunate history. 9 people lost their lives that day. But more importantly, the tie-in with racism still in America in 2015. When you talk about the Confederate flag, now, Councilwoman, Assemblywoman talked about Jim Clyburn, and I had an opportunity to sit down and talk with the congressman in Florida this summer. And he wrote a book, and he talked about, how people have misconstrued with the Confederate flags. There are like 16 different types of Confederate flags, and the one that they are talking about is not really the Southern Confederate flag, it's the Virginia Confederate flag, and you can school us, and we got to sit and talk about that. But people are, really going through situations and don't understand that when you ride down Route 13 and you go certain places, there's a Confederate flag that's still hanging high. So you have to understand, as, not just blacks, but as people who are leading people, that there has to be an awareness to these issues. And the last thing is, as legislators and activists in our community, I tell you, young folks cannot sit back and wait. And the greatest example of that was, I believe it was maybe late November, the University of Missouri football team led, along with a leader, a boycott of the University of Missouri. Now their actions, when you're not happy with something, people go, well, nothing's going to happen if I change. Well, you know what? Those handful of black students and football players at Missouri, along with an unbelievable coach, Gary Pinkel, led the boycott saying, well, if he's not removed, we are not playing. Well, you know what? They turned their cheek on so many racial incidents at the University of Missouri. Nobody paid attention, and the students and the leaders said there's nothing going to happen. Well, as soon as a white head coach stood with his players and said, well, if they don't play, I'm not coaching. And I stepped back. Well, you know what? They removed that president. And when we see injustices anywhere, we cannot continue to say it's okay. I'm not going to make a difference. Flip Michigan. It makes a difference. So please, I implore you to really, the ceremony started off so great, Ms. McDaniel, when you talk about coming together as a community and the differences and everything. This is a difference that I think, regardless of your race, creed, color, religion, that injustice anywhere. It says it all. So let's not just celebrate 1 month. Let's live it truly. Let's look at those young folks out in Missouri. Let's look at the lives that were lost in South Carolina. Let's look at that a church down there and understand that it's a little bigger than a primary election. That it's bigger than that. Really look into it. You will see the debates that are going on about what's going on here. And in 2016, you have people talking racial things and are up in the polls. You got to look at that. You have people talking about putting fences up. You have people talking about stopping Muslims from entering our country, and it's in favor. They're the majority of what's coming out. So please, education, education, education. God bless you, and thank you very much.
And members of the organization and others that have come to join us tonight. My name is Dominic Stampone. If you don't know me, I'm the mayor of Haledon. I have the great honor of being the mayor. This is my 10th year here as mayor. And I'm very excited that tonight we are celebrating our first annual African American Heritage Celebration. Also one of many. And I work in the city of Patterson, as some of you know. And sometimes I'm asked, why is it that we have monthly celebrations of whatever cultural identity you want to select? And my answer to folks when they ask me, why do we have Women's History Month, or why do we have Latin Heritage Month? My answer is that there's nothing we can change about our history. We can only act in a way that affects our future. And our history is there. But when you do not know and are not aware of those people who have contributed to our history, then what you're really doing is you're robbing yourself of an understanding of who you are. It's pretty amazing that, and I'm a big fan of the arts, it's pretty amazing that I did not read Langston Hughes and James Baldwin until I went to college. Right. Unfortunately, I went to the college at William Patterson College. Right. Terrific school. I'm so happy to have been a student there. But it wasn't until I got to college that I read about these folks. Folks should know who Frederick Douglass is as the primary abolitionist before the Civil War. But I did not know who Marcus Garvey was until I went to college. How can that be? Now, it's not because I can necessarily relate to Mr. Garvey's struggles, but I can certainly understand what it means to have perseverance. That's something that is a human trait and a human quality. How could it be that I did not know about these people? And not going to blame our primary and secondary education, but the fact is that there is a history, and then there's a history. And you need to know about all of that history. So tonight's celebration isn't about setting aside a month or a week or a day. Our celebration tonight is to give a complete picture about who we are, right? And that's the good, the bad. You do not sweep away or ignore what's happened that is negative and ugly. And the Assemblyman very eloquently touched upon some of those issues. They remain to this day, which is just a very, at the very least, a disappointing concept, but more importantly, one that should motivate us to realize that no matter what struggle has happened before, that struggle continues. And that's also what's happening tonight, right? I understand that and I respect that. And I want to thank my good friend, Michael Johnson, for organizing tonight's event. Thank you, Michael. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I learned some stuff. And I hope that everyone here continues not only, well, first of all, I hope you stick around for the council meeting. I guess that's not happening. But I hope I see you again soon. Okay, thank you so much. Have a good night. Thank you.